Hello friends, Bruce Allen here. I'm going to show you how to use an LG washing machine as well as share some tips and tricks I've collected over the years using the LG WT7300C top load washer. The information also applies to WT7250 and WT7400. For those subscribers who regularly visit the channel for my product review and repair videos, I appreciate you, so you may want to skip this video. I'll post some new stuff for you soon. For my laundry friends, I appreciate you too, so if you like what you learned today, hit some of those buttons to let me know. If there are specific things you'd like me to cover in the future, for example, frequently asked questions, resolving lint issues, special care or cleaning tips, or if you want to deep dive into the latest app features, let me know in the comments below and I'll do my best. Let's get started. If you've recently purchased this overly complicated washer, this video should get you washing in no time. Now I understand some folks just want to get to washing, so for those who aren't concerned with maximizing performance and don't want to hear me talk, to which my other half would probably say, I get it, just load the machine around the center, put liquid detergent made for high efficiency machines here, add fabric softener here, bleach here if it's a load of whites, close the lid, turn on the machine by pressing the power button, select the cycle, or just press and hold the play button. Congratulations, you're doing laundry using the normal cycle. Unfortunately, it's the cycle that uses the least amount of water and doesn't provide the best performance in many cases. I've basically just shared my first experience with this machine, after which I wanted to put this thing to the curb. Luckily, I've come a long way since then. I'm going to assume you've done laundry before and know to read labels, sort out delicate items, as well as sort garments into whites, lights and grays, and darks or bright colors. So let's talk about loading the machine. With this machine, you want to load around the outside of the tub as if there was an agitator in the middle. Additionally, don't pack the clothes in too tightly or the turnover will be low. And perhaps that's because the machine's impeller is designed to push clothes up from the bottom of the tub through the center to the top of the tub. I believe it's called blooming, which I learned from Daniel L. And Daniel L gets a shout out for sharing his knowledge and providing helpful responses in the comments. Now, you may not want to hear this, but I found this machine performs best when the tub isn't loaded to its full capacity. I'm sure you're saying to yourself, but the whole reason I got a large capacity washer was so I could do more and fewer loads. Yup, I was hoping for the same thing. Unfortunately, if the tub is loaded to the top or packed too tightly, turnover will suffer. However, don't fret. A small load can finish in less than half the time of a larger load, and I'll give you some options in a moment. Once the tub's loaded, now to add detergent. Be sure to use a detergent marked HE, which means it's made for high efficiency machines, and know that less is more. Use too much detergent, there will be too many suds, which can lead to detergent buildup on the machine or even on your clothes. Liquid detergent gets put here in the right side of the detergent drawer, and the amount you use depends on the load size. Perhaps I'll do another video on how much I use. If you're using powdered HE detergents, they also go on the right side of the detergent tray, but be sure to remove the blue cup. For those folks who prefer pods, they should be tossed directly into the bottom of the tub. Obviously, it's easier to toss a pod in before the clothes are loaded. However, if you've loaded around the outside as recommended, you can easily tunnel your way to the bottom through the middle. That wasn't actually a pod. Those were my keys. Awkward. If you like to use fabric softener, which gets added into the final rinse, put it into the left side of the detergent tray here. Again, less is more. And finally, if you're doing a load of whites and want to add bleach, carefully add the bleach here. I stress carefully because bleach can eventually eat away the finish and rust the area around the bleach cup. Shame on you, LG. There was actually a class action lawsuit about this, albeit an unsuccessful lawsuit, which is why I bet LG added this sticker, but I digress. So close the lid, turn on the machine, and select the cycle. Now, the best advice I can give you to get the best washing performance from this machine, and it's going to seem obvious, is to use the cycles as intended, with one exception, which I'll get into in a moment. First up is the normal cycle, which uses turbo wash. Unfortunately, it's incredibly stingy with water, so I only use it to wash everyday clothes that aren't too dirty or sweaty. Basically, things worn once, say to the office or Zoom meetings around the house, or clothes worn out for dinner. That's pretty much all it's good for in my opinion, so I'm going to move on. I'm going to jump to deep wash next, since selecting the Water Plus option with the normal cycle changes the cycle from normal to deep wash. After posting my review of this washer, I don't really use this cycle much anymore because there are cycles that provide better wash and rinse performance. I basically think of deep wash as a light version of the normal cycle, even though it uses more water than the normal cycle. The manual says that it's good for heavily soiled mixed loads, but in my opinion, it's only good for medium to large loads of everyday worn once clothing. Again, worn once clothing are things that aren't visibly soiled or even stinky. Deep wash's limitations are because turbo wash isn't available when using this cycle. Therefore, the motions during the wash segment aren't as rigorous as with turbo wash enabled cycles, and the rinse segment is an old-fashioned fill and swish. Because the old fill and swish doesn't provide much turnover, clothes at the top of the tub don't get rinsed as well. In contrast, the rinse segment of a turbo wash cycle uses the sprayer to provide a top-down rinse, similar to how you'd rinse your hands in a sink, which I found to be more thorough. So in my opinion, deep wash is okay for worn once clothes in cases where you want more water, but there are cycles like heavy duty and the hidden gem I'll discuss shortly, which provide better wash and rinse performance for mixed loads. Heavy duty with the turbo wash option selected is my go-to cycle because it's best for sweaty, dirty, stinky clothes. So my stuff. I not only use it for my gardening, landscaping, and construction wear, but also for the kids' clothes. My daughter used to come home from school with marker, food, and grass stains on everything. I also recommend heavy duty for a load of bath towels and for large mixed loads. Now, you don't have to select the turbo wash option, but I usually do because it'll not only shorten runtime, but it gives the clothes a good tussle and a better overall rinse. When using heavy duty, I also change the soil level from the default, which is high soil, to normal soil, unless it's a really disgusting load. Again, my stuff. And I like to add 1/4 to 1/2 cup of baking soda, depending on the load size, and that helps remove odors. Now, delicates is a good option for wools, silks, and ladies' undergarments, because the normal cycle, should you use it, will tangle up and stretch out bras, according to my other half. Cycles that use more water are less of an issue, but either way, delicates is intended for small loads, so keep it to 1/4 tub. The bedding cycle is for bedding, and this cycle can be confusing, so I'm going to elaborate. The bedding cycle is best for bulky stuff like blankets, pillows, and comforters, and even pet beds. Oh, and polyfill jackets. However, those items are best washed by themselves to avoid an unbalanced load. If you're just washing sheets, pillowcases, and a duvet cover, for example, so light bedding, I recommend using heavy duty with the turbo wash option selected and the soil level set to normal. Using heavy duty and turbo wash will help reduce air pockets and prevent lightweight items from floating. I'll get more into speed wash later, but if you're just washing one set of sheets and pillowcases, speed wash, which uses turbo wash, is an even better option. Just change the soil level to normal. Waterproof, which is for waterproof items, is another confusing but important cycle. Obviously, you'll use this cycle for raincoats, ski jackets, windbreakers, sleeping bags, and mattress pads. However, there's so much more. I've gotten a lot of comments about lint showing up on clothes, and in my experience, I found it occurs when some garment or garments that are slightly waterproof have been added to a mixed load. If you've ever done a mixed load or left a Kleenex in one of your pockets and ended up finding your darks covered in lint patches, let me know in the comments and I'll do a video showing you how to remove it. For now, I'll tell you the way to avoid lint issues is to separate out and use the waterproof cycle for anything slightly water repellent, water resistant, or even sweat wicking. That includes running clothes, workout wear, swimsuits, and even yoga pants. And that's not to say you can't throw running clothes or yoga pants into a mixed load using a different cycle. I do it all the time. But if there's a tissue or a heavy lint producing item like a towel in the load, you're likely going to end up with lint. Now, I rarely use PreWash+Normal because I always miss the window. So with PreWash+Normal, you're supposed to pre-treat stains, start the cycle, they soak and get tossed around a little, and then after the chime, you add the remaining clothes and detergent. Well, if you're not standing by the machine when the chime goes off, the cycle continues on its way. I always end up having to start the cycle all over again. It's too bad the app couldn't say, hey man, it's time to load the rest of the clothes and detergent, but nope, get on that LG. So when things require hand washing, I just do it the old-fashioned way, in the sink. Now for the exception to the rule, which I mentioned earlier, and what I consider to be the hidden gem of cycles. It's speed wash. Sure, manual says it's for 2 to 3 lightly soiled garments, but au contraire, my friends, speed wash offers so much more. It actually reminds me of the regular cycle we had on our old Maytag. Contrary to what it says in the manual, speed wash can handle small to medium-sized loads. So 1/4 tub to 1/2 tub, maybe even a little more. Similar to the normal cycle, it only takes 28 to 30 minutes. However, because it uses more water than the normal cycle, it provides better performance in my opinion. Bonus. Take that, hack LG. I used Speed Wash to launder this overflowing basket of clothes, roughly 11 pounds of laundry. Yeah, I weighed it in the name of science. And it was no problem. I even paused the machine so you could see how much water it used. Speed Wash handled this load no problem. So if you want a normal cycle only with more water for a medium-sized load or less, try Speed Wash. Just be sure to change the soil level to normal. Since the video is already running long, I'm not going to cover the download cycles, but the default is small load. Works okay, but just keep in mind it's intended for a few normally soiled items. Perhaps I can go deeper into downloadable cycles in a future video. Let me just say LG has added and removed cycles over the years from the app, so yeah, they figured out how to overcomplicate laundry. Moving on. Just briefly, the Water Plus and Cold Wash options. You may be wondering why I haven't mentioned them. Well, I rarely use Water Plus because in my experience, when the appropriate cycle is selected, there's usually enough water for decent performance. As far as Cold Wash, I've used it once. I can't understand how it's efficient. Yes, it uses cold water, but it runs forever, so no thank you. If you're concerned with your bright colors becoming faded, I would say don't be, although I recognize that every home's water heater may be set differently. I found that the warm water in our home is barely what I consider lukewarm, so it doesn't have a significant impact on our bright colors. If you have a concern, just pause a wash that's using warm water and stick your hand in. All right, let's get to washing. Add some detergent, since I didn't do that before. Close the detergent tray, close the lid, select a cycle, and press and hold the play pause button. Once the lid locks, the sensing segment of the cycle, say that a few times fast, begins. If you need to add or retrieve something at any point during the cycle, just press the play pause button, and once the machine comes to a full stop, the lid will unlock and you can dive in. To resume the cycle, close the lid and press the play pause button again. Lastly, once a cycle is finished, remove the wet laundry from the machine promptly, leave the lid open, and pull out the detergent tray so everything can dry out. That'll help prevent odors, mold, and mildew. Now you know the basics, and I hope you've learned something from this video. For more helpful LG washer related videos in the future, check out my LG washer how-to playlist, which will grow as new videos come out. And lastly, I'm neither affiliated with nor am I being compensated by LG for making these videos. So if you want to help me keep the channel going, show your appreciation by hitting the thanks button below, and I'll give you an honorable mention in a future video. Or just like, subscribe, that's helpful too. Until next time, laundry friends. Laundry's done.